Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I pay respect to the triple gems, the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. I pay respect to Bhante Ratanananda and my Dhamma brothers, Venerable Nyalankara, Venerable Adinanda, Venerable Icharan, and Venerable Deep Joy. May you benefit the most from listening to my Dhamma talk. I'll chant a certain gatha from the Dhammapada, then give the story that made the Buddha utter that verse. It is verse 19 from the Dhammapada, and that means it is the last pair of the Yamaka Wagga of the Dhammapada. Dhammapada is a book from the Khuddaka Nikaya. Khuddaka Nikaya is part of the Sutta Pitaka from the Buddhist canon, Pali Buddhist canon. Verse number 19 is Bahumpi che sahitang bhasamano na takkaro hoti naropamato gāvo gaṇayaṃ paresaṃ na bhāgavā saṃaññassa hoti. It means that he who, however much he can recite but does not practice, does not get the blessings of the holy life. This verse was uttered by the Buddha after a certain incident that happened when two people, they were friends, one was a bit older than the other. They went to the Buddha for ordination. Having ordained, they asked the Buddha, after some time staying at the temple, they one time went to the Buddha and they asked him, Venerable Sir, what is the duty what is the most important duty of your followers? And the Buddha told them in details, but briefly he said there were two things. The first thing was meditation. This is like to spiritual development, to focus on spiritual development. The second thing was study. So this was about studying the teachings of the Buddha. Nowadays we have the Pali Tripitaka. It wasn't there by then, but all it contains was there. So that was the study part of Buddha's part of the duties of the Buddha's followers, to study the Tripitaka or to develop spiritually. So the older monk said, as I am a bit old, I cannot fulfill the duty of study. So I will focus on spiritual development. The Buddha said, no problem. The younger monk also said, for me, I can do the study part very well. I might not be able to do the spiritual part very well as the study part. So he chose to do the studying. So the elder monk left and went to a certain forest. There he practiced a lot. And after some time, he attained arahatship. Then even the younger monk who chose to do the studying also did his study very well. He could recite all the teachings of the Buddha very well. He knew everything as far as study is concerned. So he was also very, very, very wise, but with study. So one day, both of them had their students. But even though both of them had their students, the one who did the study had more students than the one who was doing meditation and had become an arahant. So the arahant was living in a forest with his students, a few of them. He didn't have many students. So one day they said, we want to go and pay respect to the Buddha. Then he told them that when you reach the Buddha, pay respect on my part also and say, Venerable so and so pays respect to you, Bhante. And also to my Dhamma brother, he lives with the Buddha. You also pay respect to him. I send him my greetings. And so they went. When they reached the temple, they told the Buddha as they had been instructed. They also looked for that monk who did the studying and told him, your Dhamma brother, Venerable so and so, pays respect to you. He couldn't come. Then this monk said, then this monk thought to himself, this young monk who did the study thought to himself, what does he know? He also has students. What does he teach his students? I think nothing. For me, I have learned all the Buddha's teachings. I can say everything from my mind. I memorize everything. What does he know? So he can't even come, I think, because he knows nothing. He fears the Buddha will blame him. That's why he did not come. This was in his mind. He was rebuking the other monk, thinking he did nothing. He's doing nothing. So this monk, after some time, also came. The Arhat monk came from the forest to pay respect to the Buddha. When he was coming, the Buddha, through his vision, the Buddha had supernatural vision. He could see what was going to happen. And he saw that if this monk annoys, the Buddha thought like this: if this monk annoys my child, he will have a bad rebirth. By my child, the Buddha meant the monk who had attained arahantship. The one who hadn't attained, the Buddha didn't see him as his son. So the Buddha said, if this monk annoys my son, he will have a very, very bad result. So I should help him. Out of compassion, the Buddha arrived before it was too late. And when he arrived, he got the seat prepared for him. When he sat, he began asking questions to the younger monk who had studied a lot. So the Buddha asked questions regarding discourses like this, and the young monk knew everything. All this time, the older monk was quiet. So the Buddha also asked asked questions about spiritual achievements. He was asking questions about experiences of arahants. He was asking questions about nibbana. So such things, this studious monk did not know. He only learnt the discourses. He didn't know anything like that. That is all he knew, which was found in books. That is all he knew, which he had heard. That is all he knew. He didn't have any proper experience himself. So then after this young monk had filled those questions, the Buddha turned to the other monk and began asking him questions. He didn't even ask a lot of questions, but he asked questions about sainthood, about arahantship. And the elder monk, because he was an arahant already, he knew all the answers, and by experience, not by hearing. So by this, the Buddha kept on applauding him, said, very, very good, very, very good. Then the students of the other monk said, why did the Buddha praise this monk? He's only answered a few questions. Our teachers answered all the questions, though he failed like two, but he answered very many questions. So why does the Buddha praise this old monk? He does nothing. He doesn't put as much effort as our teacher. Then the Buddha told them, Bahumpi hoti naro pamato. Gāvo gaṇayaṃ paresaṃ na bhāgavā saṃaññassa hoti. Then he told them that however much he can recite, if he does not practice, he does not taste the blessings of holy life. This was the occasion when the Buddha recited this gatha. This happened very, very long ago, but me having read this gatha, it reminded me of many things, but most importantly, it encourages me not only to do studying, but also to practice. It reminds me that the most important thing at the end of the day is practice, not study without practice. Study without practice would be better. Study with practice is the best. Study without practice is useless. Is useless indeed. When you look at it, studying without practice has no benefit for our future lives, only this life. And as monks, our goal is to attain nibbana, to stop the cycle of rebirth. So if I do the study, if you do the study, whoever does the studying without practicing what he studies, as a monk, that would be very, very shameful, because what we want is to stop living in this world of suffering. In this modern world where success is mostly generally determined by financial status, when people ignore those who would decide, imagine one day a monk would decide that let me go to a certain forest, do my practice there. Many people would look at him badly. They would say he's foolish, he doesn't want to study, he's like this, he's uneducated. But if that monk went to the forest and succeeded, even just maybe attaining the first stage of enlightenment, the stream entry, even just the second, the one straight earner, that would be best than a person who's done studying, because having done your study without practicing what you're studying, you'll be back the next time and you put in a lot of effort studying as much as you would put in maybe practicing. Having put in a lot of effort, you will study, will learn much, that's okay, but you'll come back next life, do the same thing, you end up doing it 1,000,000 times since rebirth does not end. For me, this verse encourages me to practice what I study and put in more effort in my practice, which would be meditation, to clean my mind. And I think for those who listen, I hope this is what you learn from my Dhamma talk. In conclusion of my Dhamma talk, I pay respect to the Triple Gems, to Bhante Ratananda, and I hope my Dhamma brothers benefit the most from listening to my Dhamma talk. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.